All right, everyone, welcome back. I hope all of you are having a great day. We have a very special podcast episode for you today. And of course, we are your hosts, Dana and Luigi from the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute. And in today's episode, we will be talking to Canadian professional ice hockey goaltender Emerance Maschmeyer about what inspired her to go pro and what being healthy means to her. But before we get into this, let me start by saying that this podcast is brought to you by the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute, whose mission is to make Canada the fittest nation on earth by 2030. And of course, to this end, we have this podcast to raise awareness about physical and mental health. And now, for the guest of the day, we're thrilled to introduce Emerance Maschmeyer, who is a Canadian professional ice hockey goaltender for Ottawa of the Professional Women's Hockey League. Now, she shined at the Olympic debut in Beijing in 2022, helping Canada win a gold medal by allowing just one goal in 2 games and recording a shutout against Sweden. Now, starting with the national team in 2011, she has been a crucial player, winning multiple medals and being named the best goaltender at 2016 Worlds. After being left off the 2018 Olympic team, she made a strong comeback, contributing to Canada's 2021 World Championship victory. And off the ice, Emerance has excelled at Harvard and professionally, playing with teams like Calgary Inferno and Les Canadiens, showcasing her talent and determination. Emerance, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
We're so happy that you're here. So we're going to start off with the same question we ask most people is, where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? And were you very active as a child?
Yeah, so I grew up in Bruderheim, Alberta, which is actually outside of a very small town in a farming community. And I have 4 siblings. So we were always outside. We were always super active. There wasn't a lot to do on the farm, but in a sense, there was a ton to do on the farm outside. So I grew up playing hockey and playing kind of all other sports for fun. But yeah, my family was super active. It was something that kind of I grew into, with the family that I grew up with, and we had a lot of fun doing it.
That sounds so fun because you would have had all these, the siblings to play with all the time, right?
Totally.
Playing sports with.
If you're arguing with one day, you just go to the next. It was a perfect situation.
That sounds perfect.
Where did you fall? Were you oldest, youngest, somewhere in the middle?
I am number 4 of 5, so still on the younger end, but we're all very close in age. We're 5 kids within 7.5 years, so.
Oh, wow.
It was a little bit of a zoo.
That's amazing.
No, so very curious. Did anything at any point on the farm inspire you to become a hockey player?
Well, ironically, not so ironic, my family did. So my dad, he grew up playing hockey, and it was kind of the normal thing to do where I grew up in the small town, and I have 3 older siblings that already had started playing hockey. And so right away, I started playing when I was 3 years old, which is crazy to think now. I was so young. I mean, I skated and I wasn't really quite playing hockey yet, but I was trying. So yeah, I just grew up in a big hockey family, and the community around me was a big hockey community. So it was just natural that that's what, I got into.
That sounds so fun. I can't, so skating at 3 years old, that is young. I can barely skate now.
Oh my gosh, I know. It is crazy to think about. Even my mom was like, yeah, when you were 9 days old, you were already in the rink, not skating, but watching my siblings.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's so fun. So, how old were you when you decided this is going to be my profession? This is going to be what I'm going to do for life?
I was a pretty serious kid. And because I had, my siblings as older role models and kind of my mom and dad to help give direction, I knew I loved hockey from a very young age. Like I always enjoyed playing. I always wanted to go to the rink. When I wasn't playing, I was playing mini sticks or finding a way to play hockey. So yeah, I would say I was pretty serious about hockey from a young age. This sounds crazy now, but I would say around 7 years old is when I actually switched from player to goalie, and I got quite serious about wanting to play. And I knew kind of the possibilities of, playing professional, maybe not professional actually, but playing in college. And at that time I thought I could play in the NHL, play for Team Canada. My dad, he kind of informed me of all these opportunities. I'm 7 years old, so I didn't really understand it, but I knew, okay, I love playing hockey and I can get some opportunities out of playing. So I got into working with a goalie coach. And I know, I was fortunate that my parents were able to provide that for me. But I started working with a goalie coach and training pretty young. So yeah, I would say at
Wow.
a pretty young age.
So you were lucky in also the way that your dad was kind of directing you into these are the opportunities that you can move towards, right? Which is
Definitely.
at a very young age. So when you were 7, how much hockey were you playing?
Hard to say now. I would say probably 4 to 5 times a week, which is
Wow.
pretty high. Yeah, and I recognize that now as an adult. I'm like, that's quite the commitment, even for
Hmm.
to be bringing, their kids to the rink and the cost of hockey and everything. So yeah, I was very fortunate that I was able to get on the ice that often.
And I assume it just got more and more, right? As you got into elementary school, high school.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as I started making elite teams and the demand, grew. And kind of with that, the off ice training and everything that kind of encompasses, the whole, everything training and not just on the ice. So yeah, the demand definitely grew and grew.
And well, speaking of training, what did training look like when you were in high school, like transitioning from high school to even college while playing?
Yeah, I would say in high school, so I guess my first couple of years in high school, I was playing elite hockey in I guess not my hometown, just outside of my hometown where I played or where I went to school. And we would practice, I believe, 3 times a week and then play usually 2 games on the weekend.
Wow.
Um, and then with that, there was some off ice training as well. I think it was like maybe once or twice a week at that point. And then when I would kind of have a down week, I would often go, as a goaltender, it's a very specialized position and practices with the team. They didn't necessarily have a goalie coach. So I would go out and seek my own goalie training as well. So when there was kind of dips in the schedule, I would go and do my specialized training. So the demand kind of, yeah, definitely increased in high school. And then my last year of high school, I was playing in a junior hockey league. So so I was the only female in the league, but the guys, a lot of them were graduated from high school. So the demand was insane. A
Right.
lot of games, a lot of
Mhm.
travel,
Right.
um, a little less off ice training because there were more games, but
Mhm.
practices kind of middle of the day, 2 hours. So I would have to kind of schedule my schooling around my practices.
Yeah, that seems like that would be tough to get all of that
Definitely.
done.
I feel
Oh,
like as I'm talking, I'm like, I don't really know how I did it, but I feel like when you're in it and you love it, you
Kind of
find
just
a
go.
way.
You
right. It doesn't feel
absolutely.
like, yeah, you're doing something you love, right?
Right.
So, what were some of the most, I mean, your career is amazing, what you've done. What are some of the most memorable moments, highs and lows?
I would say, well, I guess like my first memorable moments would be playing on the outdoor rink with my siblings. There's just nothing like it. And anytime we can get back out on an outdoor rink, it's just so much fun. And it brings me back to the reason why I started playing in the first place. So I'd say like that right off the bat, that's like my favorite hockey moment. It's just playing with my siblings. Um, I guess my biggest achievement would be the 2022 Olympics, winning gold there. That was a lifelong dream of mine, and that finally came true just a few years ago. And I guess with that process, like Luigi said, I got released from the 2018 Olympic roster, and so that was a really big setback in my career and a massive hurdle I had to overcome. And I remember kind of questioning my love for the game after getting released and thinking, should I stay in it? Should I keep playing? It's another 4 years until possibly making the team for the Olympics in 2022. And I stuck with it, and I found that love and kind of got back down to my roots again, and why I've played in the first place. But I would say like that was a big moment for me in learning a lot about myself and how I could handle kind of any challenging situation in sport and how to overcome it and that mindset. So that would, I guess, those two kind of together. And then I would say just recently, being in the PWHL, the new professional women's league, it's been kind of a few years coming. We've been trying to fight for this league for a long time, and so to finally be able to play professionally and make a livable salary and have all the resources that we need as athletes and be playing games in sold out arenas, it's just been honestly a dream come true.
Amazing.
What I love about all of this is that from sharing some of your most memorable moments, you've also shared some key lessons, right? I've heard determination, I've heard perseverance, I've heard
Yeah.
you have both of these qualities, and you continue to push, you continue to find your way back on the inside, which matches a lot of great opportunities on the outside. So I'm very curious to know if you have any advice to give to young Canadians who dream of becoming competitive athletes in general.
Yeah, definitely. I would say first and foremost, like find your passion, find that sport that you really cannot live without. I think it makes everything a lot easier when you have that. But I think just enjoy the process to becoming a competitive athlete or becoming an athlete by any means. It's a journey, and kind of like I was describing, like there's challenges along the way, and that, like, no doubt about it. You're going to run into some hurdles. So just stick with that journey and just focus on enjoying those small moments in between. Because, when you get kind of to that peak, when you accomplish something you really have been set out to, like you wanted to accomplish, it feels great. But it's always when you're thinking about it, you're thinking about the memories that came before and those small moments in between and kind of the people that you were surrounded by. So I guess also with that, just surrounding yourself with people who will elevate you and kind of bring the best out of you, and also just use your resources. If you don't have the right resources or feel like something's missing, then ask around and don't be afraid to ask for help or information. The information is and sources are always out there, but just don't be afraid to put yourself out there and ask for help.
I think the lesson that Luigi also touched on, that you're talking about, everyone has challenges, right? Like you're talking to you're at the very top of where you can be, and things can still be hard, and things can come up, and they can be obstacles and difficulties, and you can, right, for people at any level.
Definitely.
So it's such a good message to persevere. And like, how did you do that? How did you decide, I'm not going to give up, I'm gonna move forward? What made you decide that?
Yeah, I think a lot of self-reflecting, to be honest. I kind of had to look inward and think about, okay, what really matters to me? And for me, in the moment of getting released from that team, I had recognized that I was maybe holding on to my goal and just trying to achieve it. I was just looking ahead instead of being in the moment and being where my feet were at. And so it really taught me to just, yeah, enjoy the moment, enjoy the process. Like that's honestly the most beautiful part. I also think a big thing for me was having the support and shoulders to lean on from my family and friends and teammates, and just being able to reach out to those people that love and care about me and have their support. I feel like that's always what gets me through those challenging times. So kind of both mindset and my support system.
And it shows how important the people that you surround yourself with are, right? The community that you have and who you choose to be around when you're trying to achieve these goals. Yeah.
Community continues to be a big theme in any podcast that we actually have, right? Any session that we've had, community always seems to be one of these themes that come back, and it's so much, it aligns so much with our values, right? Of bringing people together, of ensuring that people know that these resources are there for them, and that this word of wisdom and word of that everyone can relate to is available for them to hear. So it's always so nice to come across that again.
Yeah, definitely.
So now I think the next thing we always think about is, for any athlete, right? We always think there's training, there's mindset and motivation, but there's also fitness, there's also nutrition, right? Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about how health, fitness, nutrition, how are these things important to you, and what maybe your nutrition looks like?
Yeah. So I mean, health and fitness, nutrition, like that's like all the keywords. So that's what I think about all the time. As a professional athlete, it's important that I'm feeling as optimal as I possibly can. And so for
Mm.
me, it's, resting when I need to, eating the right food so I have, the right fuel so I feel good when I'm playing my sport. Um, and just mentally as well, just making sure I'm in a good place and taking care of what I need to do in order to be able to play free when I am on the ice. And so, whether that's talking to a therapist or journaling or just different self-care. So yeah, I feel like I'm always evaluating where I'm at with my health and fitness, and there's different times of the year that I'm kind of focusing more on different things, and that's just because sometimes I'm in season, sometimes I'm out. There's times of where you need to reevaluate because you're feeling a little overwhelmed or you're realizing you're not eating as well, or there's a lot of coming back to the drawing board. But for me, it's just if I'm moving my body, it's good for me physically, it's good for my mind, and it's good for my soul. So um even when I, outside of hockey, like I'm always finding a way to, whether it's going for a walk or going for a bike ride, um there's other ways too to just get out, get some fresh air, and just I find that I always feel so much better about everything when I am, moving my body.
Right. What do you do to avoid burnout?
That's a good question. I would say, especially in season, it's a little bit easier in off season because I guess my schedule isn't as demanding. I'm not traveling as much. But in season, it's for me, it's a lot of self care. So I guess what that looks like to me is finding little pockets of time where I kind of do things that I enjoy, whether it's journaling, taking a bath, going for a walk, calling my mom. Spending time with a friend, going for dinner, whatever that might be at that time. For me, I spend a lot of time with my teammates, and I love my teammates to death. But there's, when you're on the road for a couple of weeks or stuck in a hotel and on the ice every day, it can be physically and mentally demanding. So just finding little pockets of time and ways to take care of myself, and it definitely changes throughout the year. But those are kind of some of my go-tos.
Right. Yeah. Good. All good things. It's hard to remember to do that sometimes, right? Especially when you love what you're doing, but it's so demanding. What you're
For
doing is so
sure.
demanding and you love it. So you have to remind yourself, right? I also have to decompress sometimes.
Definitely. And I feel like oftentimes, and I mean, I learned this, I've learned this over and over again, I'm sure, but sometimes you feel like more is more, and it really isn't.
Mm.
There's just, for me, it's like having a plan, doing what I need to do, completing it, and then saying, okay, that is enough. Like I'm allowed to rest. I'm allowed to take
Mhm.
care of myself, or take a pause if, it's okay that I have these expectations, but maybe I can't fully meet them today. Like accepting that, but it's a hard thing to do. There's no doubt about it, because I think as athletes, we all have that little bit of perfectionist in us. So
Mhm.
that can be, toxic at times as well.
Right. Right. That's a good point. So what are your plans for the future? What are your goals and what do you hope to achieve?
Yeah, so I will be playing for the PWHL Ottawa this next season. And so I guess my goal would be to win the league. That's kind of something that we have our eyes set on. So yeah, just continuing to play hockey and hopefully make Team Canada. That's again my goal. I've been fortunate enough to play with the national team the last 10 seasons, which is insane. Um,
Amazing.
but I'm trying out again for Team Canada and hope to play and represent the Maple Leaf on the world stage again. And so that's kind of my my near sighted goals. And right now it's just kind of hockey in my radar. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
my
That
plans.
takes
Yeah,
up all your time, right? Yeah. Most of your time.
definitely a lot of my time.
Now, as you're planning for all of these, right? I think you've already talked about this a little bit, where outside of hockey, maybe you could go for a bike ride, maybe you hang out with family, or you go for a walk. Very curious to know if there is one new hobby that you've picked up recently. right? That you're trying, and it's proving to be something that is surprisingly fun. Is there anything new that you've kind of just recently gotten into? And then new could just mean this past year, or something that you don't usually do while competing.
Yeah, I guess physically, like I have been really enjoying pickleball. Like that's my new sport and probably my retirement sport. No doubt about that. I love pickleball. So I guess that would be like the new sport I've been into. But I've been doing a lot of DIY projects. We are renovating a lot of our home right now, so that's something that I've gotten into, but I've been really enjoying it. And
That's fun.
I
Yeah.
love the interior design part of it too. So, yeah, that's kind of been a new hobby of mine.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Love interior
Yeah, that
design.
sounds fun.
Mhm.
I got invited to play pickleball this week. I've never done it, but people keep talking about it, so I'm definitely going to try it.
You need to play. You will be
Yeah.
hooked.
Yeah, I'm excited. Are you a tennis player as well?
Not really. I've played tennis, but I honestly enjoy pickleball way more because I feel like you can get a rally in tennis. It's just you might
Yeah.
never serve.
That's how I feel. Like I can't even run to the, yeah, no, I'm terrible. I
Yeah,
tried it
yeah,
and I was terrible. So I'm like, maybe pickleball, maybe.
yeah. It's a little bit smaller of a court, and it's like the wiffle ball or whatever it is, little
Right,
ball.
right.
So it's not
Yeah.
coming as fast. So you're
Good point.
you can get a rally in. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you ever get break? So when you're in when is your in season? Like when does it end?
So with Team Canada, we have a camp in September, and then with Team Ottawa, we start up like mid-November, and then
Okay.
we play all the way. Well, this year it was until the beginning of May, but you can play all the way until I guess the beginning of June. So quite long.
Oh wow, that is
Yeah,
that is very long.
yeah,
Most of the
That's
year.
amazing. Yeah.
most of the year.
And then do you ever just want to take off on vacation for the summer or
Well, it's funny because I find that all of us hockey girls, we as soon as the season ends, it's like you can look at any of our Instagrams and it's like this person's in Italy, this person's in Mexico. We're like everywhere. It's like
amazing?
yeah,
Long
finding the
overdue.
sun, getting some vitamin D. It's yeah, it's good
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
soul.
Another way to decompress, right? After a full year. I mean, a full,
Definitely.
yeah, that's amazing. Um, so we always ask this question too. What would you like to see a focus on around health and fitness in Canada?
I would say like focusing on schools and education and exposure to physical activity and also nutrition. Um, I think about myself growing up. Kind of the reason I was exposed to a lot of sport was through my family, and also even the nutrition side. It was through once I got into hockey, it became something that I learned through different courses that we would take on like U18 Team Canada or Team Alberta. So it took many years before I really understood what eating healthy looked like. So I
Hmm.
would say just like educating youth on how to eat healthy, what a balanced meal looks like, what proportions should be. Um, I think that's something that once you learn, you kind of take for granted, but until you know, until you learn it, you would never know. So, and then I think also just educating youth on how often and how long um, they should be physically active a week. So just kind of giving, the idea of how much they should be moving their body. Because again, it's something that you need to learn. It's not something that you're, innately born with and understand. So I think just focusing on the education part. And I think
Hmm.
that will instill in the youth
I
early
think it's
on.
great that you're saying these things too, because so many young Canadians would be look up to you, right? Look up to everyone in the Olympics, look up to these athletes that are doing what they love and successful athletes, right? And
Right.
to hear you say that, it's like physical activity is important, nutrition is important for children. It's inspiring and it makes them. I think it means a bit more than maybe just hearing it from someone, their neighbor or something. I
Right.
think it's,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like hearing it from your hero.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Like I recognize obviously how healthy it is, and I also recognize too like the impact that I can have even on my social media and kind of just giving little tips here and there on how to be healthy, how to get active, what to
Mhm.
do. Well, not maybe not in the gym when you're a young kid, but just little tips here and there, just kind of giving a glimpse into my world. So yeah, I recognize kind of the weight that, I have the impact that I can have on youth
Mhm.
as well. So I guess that would be the other thing is just if you have, you have a voice, if you have the knowledge, like spread it, don't withhold it. So
Mhm.
that would be the other thing.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's different, like because you had you had your siblings and you had a community to play with all the time, it makes it a bit easier to get involved, right?
Right.
For
Yeah.
I'm sure, for children that might not have that, they don't have siblings or they don't have that type of community thing. It's really important to have those programs available for communities. So
Right.
I'm
A
glad
lot
you
of
made
times
that point.
too, and food's expensive and healthy food is very expensive. So even just, finding a way to make that more accessible or even just educating youth on how to make a healthy meal that maybe isn't super expensive. So just yeah, the education part, because like you said, I was surrounded by resources and I didn't recognize how fortunate and how uncommon that was, but I do now that, I'm 30-ish. But, I recognize that, and so, yeah, I feel like focusing on, in schools where, everyone's going to school, so, finding those, maybe it's a class or a little course that they can do to just learn, how to be healthy.
Absolutely.
Love that so much. And again, love that sense of community and play. I mean, I think alongside finding your passion, it's also doing things for fun and think as long as things connect internally, then you're able to maintain them. So I really, really love your answer in what you recommend.
So,
Well, these were all of our questions. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer them.
of course, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Sure, such a pleasure. And thank you to everyone who tuned into this episode and listened to our wonderful guest, Emerance, for sharing her story, what she likes and what keeps her motivated and staying healthy and continuing to play. We are your hosts, Dana and Luigi. And if you want to learn more about Emerance, please don't forget to follow her TikTok or IG at EMASCH38. You go on there, TikTok or Instagram, both of them are the same. You'll get to see what she posts and how she engages with everyone on the daily. And don't forget to check our Instagram at Let's Move Canada for the latest updates. And don't forget to head over to our website at chfi.fit to learn more about our mission. Do not hesitate as well to DM us if you're interested in being part of this podcast or if you have any recommendations. And of course, stay tuned in for next episode announcements. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. See you next time.